Often, many times when I'm speaking to prospective clients, after doing a credit analysis, I may tell them that based on what's on their credit, that they may need 60, 90, even 180 days to fix their credit because the process simply often takes that long, and they may have that many items on their credit that need fixing. They would often say, "Oh, wow, does it going to take that long?" Or, "Wow, why does it take that long?" Usually, when I'm looking at their credit, these accounts have been on there for 3, 4, 5 years or longer. And so I would ask them, well, think of it this way. It took you years to make the bad credit decisions, and then you had to live with the bad credit for several more years. And then now that you're ready to correct your credit, why is it reasonable to expect that it can be done in just a few months? You've waited years. Why? And then you're not willing to wait months to fix it. Now, let's think about that for a minute. Everyone knows that it always takes longer to clean up a mess than it does to make the mess. I mean, for instance, if you were to walk into your bedroom right now to your chest of drawers, and you take, say, your top drawer with all your underwear in it, and you were to dump it out on the floor. Now, the act of dumping it on the floor only took a few seconds, right? Now, think about how long it's going to take you to pick everything up off the floor and fold it back up or roll it back up, depending on how you do it, and put it back in your drawer the way it was. That could take, a half hour, 20 minutes, depending on how much you have in there. But my point is, it's going to take a lot longer to fix that drawer back and clean it up than it did to make the mess in the first place. Well, credit is no different. But I tell you that the process takes as long as it takes because the process takes long as it takes. The credit bureaus, the creditors have a legal rights of time to make the moves that we want them to make and to get that done oftentimes. Um, now, if you if you understand the process and know that it is what it is, but even if you don't understand the process, let's accept that. And but I would tell you, at the end of the day, if you're better off than when we started, it's worth the effort. It's worth the time that it takes to do it. And I can even give you an example of one of my clients and how the time it took for her to get her credit done was well worth it for her. Mm. Well, my client, I'm not going to use her real name, but let's just call her Teresa. Teresa, when she first came to me, this was in August of 2021, and her credit scores, the three bureaus, TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax, her scores were roughly one score was 450, the other two were in the high 400s, around 480, plus a little bit more than 480. Now, because of the credit score she had, and she had approximately, if I remember correctly, 18 or 19 derogatory items, collections, bad accounts, judgment, things of that nature on her credit. And because of that, she didn't really have a lot of options in terms of credit. Now, at the time, she was living in a, let's say, not so great neighborhood, um, in the Cleveland area, and her dream was to buy a house. But knowing what she knew about where her credit was, she came to me and she says, "Hey, is it, I want to do this. What will it take? Can I realistically get a house?" And I told her, I said, "Yeah, anything's possible if you're willing to do, to take the time and do the work and do the things necessary to clean up the credit history." And I told her, we clean up the credit history, the scores will come. So she signed on with me, and she was very excited. Um, Subsequently, she told a few coworkers and a few family members that she was had hired someone to help her work on her credit, and they told her, "Oh, it'll never work. He's ripping you off. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to do it. Your credit is just too bad." But she had a little bit of faith in me. She wanted to believe that it could happen because she really wanted it to be able to be happening. But she trusted me and had faith in me to help her do that. And I told her, I said, as long as you put it in and we take the time and you don't quit before the magic happens, we can definitely make it happen for you. And so throughout the next few months, through September, October, November, December of 21, we set about getting rid of some things, working on some credit, deleting some of the collections early on. And at that point, her scores were up about 80 points each across the three bureaus, somewhere in the 80 point range. So now we're looking at someone who's in the mid to upper 500 range. So still not where she needed to be for a mortgage approval, less any other type of approval. Now, at the time when we first talked, she was renting, and like I said, in a not so great area of the neighborhood she wanted to get out of. She was driving a 2008 GMC vehicle of some kind. I don't remember what it was. Um, the vehicle she had just bought earlier in the year during income tax time. She paid $9,000 for the vehicle using $2,000 down from her income tax refund. And because of her credit scores, her interest rate on her loan was 16.99%. Not the greatest scenario in the world. So in December, everything was going well. We did that. Well, in late January, the car broke down on her way to work, and she had to travel. She traveled across town to work. She was on Interstate 71 during a snowstorm, of course, and the vehicle broke down on her. And she had called and said, "Oh, yes, the vehicle broke down on me." She was really upset, naturally, understandably. And she was like, I think I need to get a new car. Can I get a new car yet? And I told her, well, no, I wouldn't advise doing it yet because your main goal was you're trying to get a house and your scores are up, but they're not still not where you want to be. And if you've financed another, apply for financing for another vehicle right now, most likely you're going to get another high interest rate loan, 60% or similar, something similar to that. And but she told me, she said, okay, well, the vehicle had a warranty that she purchased when she bought the vehicle. So it was towed and they took it in for warranty service. Well, when I spoke to her a few days later, they had made some repairs to the vehicle. She had it back, but she still had in her mind about buying a car. Um, I can understand that because the one thing that vehicles need to be is reliable, that you can rely on. So about a month and a half, 2 months later, she called me again saying, "Oh man, it stopped on me again. Check engine light was coming on, so on, so much. I got to get rid of this vehicle." I said, well, your credit's still not there yet. I would hold off on it. I said, but in the meantime, um, continue and following with the plan. Now, part of the plan I told her, as I advise most of my clients, because we talk a lot about finance and situations, and so I had spoke to her about not financing at the dealer, that doing a pre-approval through her bank or her credit union. So we had discussed that previously, but I told her don't do anything just yet. Let's keep working on the credit. Go ahead, and I said, are they still able to cover the one? She said, oh yeah, they'll look at it, still under warranty, so on and so forth. Now that was in March. Oh, so in late April, I went on vacation. I took a cruise, so I was out of town. Now with my cell phone provider, T-Mobile, I could still call domestic So I was still trying to keep in touch with clients as best as I could. So I had called Teresa just to check in and see what was going on with her car repair and that everything was good. And had she received any letters that she normally would receive in the credit repair process, just to check in, the client check in. And I didn't get her. She didn't answer the phone. A couple of days later, while I was still on the cruise, I gave her a call, no answer, which is unusual for her because typically whenever I called, she usually always answered right away, or she at least would say, text me and say, she'll call me back, and then I'll do that. So um, I said, okay, well, she must be doing something, and maybe that's what's happening. So um, I waited until I got back the first week of May and getting back to work and everything. And so I gave her a call again, no answer. I said, man, I hope she's not avoiding me. Uh, but sometimes I know folks get busy and then, they may have been unable to reach back. The next day I gave her a call, again, no answer. And the third day when I came back, she actually called me first. And when I saw that it was her, and I answered the phone and I said, okay, T, what did you do? And she says, well, I just didn't have faith in that vehicle anymore. It was the check engine light was still coming on and it would sputter sometimes. And I just felt like I was scared to drive it because I didn't know if it was going to stop on me again, so on and so forth. I said, okay. Again, I say, what did you do? And she said, well, I did what you said. I went ahead and got a car. So I said, oh man, okay, what did you get? So then again, this is May of 2022. And she said, well, I found a really good deal on the car. It's a 2018 Honda Accord. And it didn't have a lot of miles on it. When I got it, it was off a lease. It had like 40 some thousand miles on it. I said, okay, that's cool. That's cool. Sound like a good deal. I said, well, how much did you have to put down on this car? And because remember last year they made her put $2,000 down on a $9,000 vehicle that was 12 years old. And she said, oh, I didn't have to put any money down. I said, really? Oh, okay. She said, yo, no, I did what like you told me to. I went to the credit union and I applied for a loan with them. And they told me, yeah, oh yeah, you're approved and you don't have to put any money down if you don't want to. I said, okay, that's good. I said, well, did they happen to tell you what was the representative score that they pulled for the credit? She said, they said it was six something, 680s. I don't remember. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, okay, that's in line with what we were looking at last, because again, I hadn't looked up at the update. It hadn't been quite 30 days yet, but we were in the 600s. And of course, things were happening. Things were being removed constantly. We were working and making improvements. So her score was moving around a lot in this period of time. So I said, okay, well, it's not, I got 9 days left before I can look at the credit update. So, okay, well, that sounds good. And she said, yeah. I said, well, let me ask you, what's the interest rate that they gave you? And she said, oh, it's 3.99. I said, oh, that's good. Now, keep in mind, this is 2022 before the rates went all crazy, because we know we had that big surge. And I said, okay, well, it looks like you made out okay. And I knew from what she had on her credit that she didn't have a lot of credit debt, so that I know her debt to income ratio. That's used for qualifying purposes with a mortgage. For you, those of you that don't know that, her debt to income ratio should have still been in pretty good shape, because I had an idea of what her income was, because we had income and financial personal finance budget ish conversations. So I said, okay, good. So you did what you had to do. I said, and I don't think it's going to hurt you too much. I said, well, good news is now that you have a new account on your credit to help build your credit, as long as you manage that account the way you were doing the other loan, no harm, no foul. So 9 days later, when it was time for me to update her credit, now mind you, she'd been working with me since August of 21. So we're talking about September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. We're approximately at 9 months, going on 10 months of her working with me to fix her credit. And so we're already looking at a massive savings because a lot of folks are concerned about what it costs to fix their credit. Well, I can tell you, regardless of what it cost her to pay me to fix her credit, she's already made that money back and having the better new credit because now she went from a 16.99% interest rate loan to a 3.99% interest rate. Now, if you do the math on that, now she had a $7,000 loan, a $7,700 loan when she started, and her payment on the new loan at I think it was $22,000. So she started out at $22,000 on that one. She was already her loan was not much more than it was with the old vehicle, but she's driving a newer vehicle at a lower interest rate. So just on having better credit and getting better terms on her auto loan, she made back. Her benefit was 10 times what she paid me just to get her there. But it gets even better. Now, I said, well, I said, you're probably still a little bit low for mortgage approval simply because of a difference in the credit. But she was well on her way. But she said, no, 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 because I told you, yes, I want to get a house, but I want to have the best credit I can. So I'm going to continue on. And then I'll start looking um, at houses maybe in a couple more months because I want all my scores to be above 700. I say, okay, that's a good idea if you got time, because initially she wanted to try to buy in the summer before school started so she could have her kid in case she moved into a different district because she was in Cleveland at the time, in case she ended up buying a suburban house and she'd be able to do the whole uh, school transfer in time for the school year to start. But she wasn't concerned about that anymore. So throughout the summer, we continued to work on those remaining items and working on that and getting the score up. And I was also showing her some techniques on how to build her credit to help build her score as well. But I always remind people that if the focus is to work on the file, clean up the credit, clean up the items, clean up the negative information, and then increase your credit capacity through new credit lines. You don't necessarily have to go into debt to have more credit. You just have to develop more credit accounts, more credit capacity, and manage those, and then you'll help build your score. So we continue with that. And then when September came around, she said, okay, I think I want to start looking. So I referred her to one of my mortgage loan officer partners who I work with. They send me folks that need help with their credit for mortgage approval, like Teresa, and then her. I often send them people if they weren't working with somebody to begin with. I will send them to them and say, hey, this person here is looking for a mortgage, and so the mortgage loan officer, Ryan, was able to easily and quickly pre-approve Teresa. And so she started her hunt for the her home. Now, she also remembered something that I had told her from my years of experience as a real estate investor. In Ohio, places like this where it gets cold, once the school year starts, the selling season is usually winds down. So it's less, it's more. Sometimes there's a lot more houses on the market than people looking for them, and so it gets a little slow. So usually you got a better chance of getting a deal when you buy a property during the fall and winter months. So she kind of considered that as well. So she had started her search, and then she found a home in a suburban area and the home was being sold by a couple, and the husband, this was his childhood home. And so, and his parents, one of his parents had recently passed away. The other was in assisted care and had moved out of the house. The house was solid. It was a nice house. They hadn't updated the house cosmetically since the 90s. So the bathroom and the kitchen had a little bit of a 90s vibe, but everything was in great shape. The house was in good condition. It was nice and solid. And so they were excited. It was a great starter home for them. And so she bought the house, did everything the right way, had an inspection, everything. And so ultimately they made an offer. The sellers were very accommodating with the offer because they liked the idea of her and her young family taking over the house that he grew up in. And so they were very accommodating with them. And so ultimately, she and her husband and her family, they bought the house. They signed an agreement on the house. And then the process went quickly. And so 2 weeks before Christmas, they moved into their house. And they were anxious to move and they said if nothing else, we want to be in for Christmas, we want to be in our house in New Year's. And so Ryan and the guys, they were able to get that done for them. And so here it is, mid-December, they're in their new home. Now, keep in mind, she started working with me in August of 21. And so now, 14 months later, in December and September, October of 21, she's pre-approved and she's approved to buy a home. So through patience and hard work over a period of time, she found herself 14 months after she started working with me, going from driving a 12-year-old car that with a 17% mortgage to driving a 4-year-old car with a 4% auto loan. She found herself moving from a house in a less than desirable neighborhood, paying $650 a month for rent, to buying a home and having a $1,400 mortgage on a home, 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom home of her own. She went from 400, high 400, mid to high 400 credit scores to 700 plus credit scores. So when people say, why do I have to wait so long to get my credit fixed? Why does it take so long? I don't think it's worth all the trouble. I say, ask Teresa, because she could tell you 14 months of getting her credit fixed took her from the hood to the good. So just think about that when you're facing that decision. But I tell you, it's not that it's 14 months or 6 months of a year of working with me. It's 14, 16, 6 months to a year of you working on yourself, working for yourself to improve your options. Because really at the end of the day, that's what you care about most, right? What are you getting at the end of this process, of this journey? And then also remembering that even going forward, managing your credit is an ongoing situation. It's an ongoing process, just like managing your finances. You do it every day, you do it every paycheck, you do it every month. And the decisions you make for the future is management. So is it not worth it to do it? I think Teresa would say it was worth it. I think Teresa's kids would say it was worth it. I think that anyone who goes from living that to going to this and would say that it's worth it. So, I mean, life is a series of journeys. The credit improvement is no different. It's a journey. As we go through life working for the things we want to have a better life. It's a journey. And why do we expect a journey to be short and easy? Because anyone will tell you everything in life worth having is usually hard and long to get to, because anything worth having takes work and time. And so that I would say that, do it for yourself. It's not about, doing it for me or someone like me, but it's what you're doing for yourself. It's having that desire and that commitment to yourself and the patience of following the process. Because I tell people all the time, no matter what your credit situation is, being able to get to a better place, better credit, better history, it's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when. And if you're able to do that, have that, and go the distance, you will benefit from what the outcome. You will love the results. I have had clients who, after a month or two, they kind of decide that they don't want to do it anymore. They disappear. Some of them say it's not working, and I tell them that they're not going through the process, because I try to let folks know that it's a process. It takes time, and they ask me to estimate, and I try not to estimate, because again, we're at the mercy, if you will, of other parties doing the things that we want to do. Even though we have laws and things, credit statutes and rules that affect how they report our credit to us. People, we know all the time, people, companies, entities don't always do what's right without being made to do it. They don't always do what's correct. They don't always do the right thing. And so the process of ordering, requesting, demanding that they do the right things with erroneous information, in getting it corrected, is a process. And but it's a process that's worth it. So I would invite you to consider that long and hard. When if you're thinking about, you finally say, okay, I'm tired of my credit being bad. um, what exactly do I go through? So if you speak to me or someone like me, and they're giving you the real, where they say this could take months, um, understand that it's the process. I mean, there may be people out there that, that may or may tell you it's taking months. Don't necessarily assume that it's because they may be trying to get months and months of payments to do it. I mean, if they're doing so, then you basically want to ask, what are you doing during that time? You know, but I can tell you this: if no matter whether you fix your credit yourself or whether you have someone help you to fix it or do it for you, I'm not really a big fan of the do it for you, because even and no matter what, it always requires effort and work and action from you. So nobody's really fixing your credit. I don't fix your credit totally for you. It's more of a done with you, because there's a lot that I do, but there are things that you have to do also. I mean, you have to do things like, during that time, you have to not only we work to eliminate the derogatory items, you still have to manage the credit you have active. You got to make your payments, your current payments, on time and in full. You can't expect to fix your credit, um, and then thinking the only thing you need to do is pay me or someone like me to eliminate all the bad stuff that's weighing your credit down. If you don't actively and correctly manage the items you got open, you can't start making your truck loan payments late and then say, why is my credit score not going up? I paid you. But because you still got to manage what you have. And then once we eliminate those items, then I show you managing your credit part of that is goes towards building new credit, because every month when we make payments, we're building new credit in the future by managing our present credit. But again, I kind of diverged on that. But my main point I wanted to make to drive home is that credit doesn't get ruined in a day. It can't be fixed in a day. Credit is often ruined in months and years, and it's going to take months to fix it. Um, could it take years? Usually it's possible, but usually it's not. But it's usually months. And it can, again, like in Teresa's case, it was 14 months, but it was I mean, we didn't really, it didn't take 14 months for us to get her to a point where she could get an approval for a car. I mean, that only took 7 months. And then it took an additional additional 7 months to get her to a point where not only could she get a mortgage approval, but it was really more of she wanted to go as high as she could. And so, and even to now, she's still in, here it is now, 2 years later, as of this video recording, she's still in her home. Her credit is still good. She's not a client of mine anymore, but we talk. She still calls me. A lot of my clients, even when I'm done with the credit repair, they still call me for advice on financial items. Sometimes it's about insurance, it's about credit, it's about financing, it's about 401k investing, whatever. My clients do call me and we have conversations about those things. So I know as of now, her credit is still good. She's still in the 700s, so she's maintaining that. She's still paying her bills, as long, including the two we talked about, to this day. So when concerned about the time it takes to fix their credit, why thinking that it's an end goal? Because a lot of people are only thinking about a transaction. They're thinking about, I want my credit fixed so I can do A, B, or C. So I can buy a house, so I can buy a car, so I can get an approval for some new furniture. I'm tired of being told no, which I get that. But if you're only thinking about a one transaction goal when fixing your credit, I believe you got the wrong idea. The idea is that you want to fix your credit and manage your credit effectively so that whenever you want to make a transaction, if you're already ready for it, you don't have to get ready for it. And so you have to think of that new credit is a lifestyle change, and there's new habits that you got to do to get where you want to get. But if the only thing you're thinking about is just what do I need to do to bump my score so that I can get a yes, so that I can get an approval, I think it's a little bit short sighted. And if you're still watching this video, I'm hoping that you go to YouTube, like and subscribe to this. Put comments in there. Tell me, if you don't agree with what I'm saying, or if you have additional comments, or if there's another factor, or even if you got questions, you can put them in there, and I most certainly happily answer those in the next video. But again, this is a credit client story. This is a true story, and this is the what happens when you give yourself the time and the patience and the commitment to fix your credit, and you, just like Teresa, can reach your goals, get your dreams, get that dream house, get that dream car. Even if you find yourself backed into it, take the time to do it. Now, even whether you hire me or someone like me, when you start that journey, understand that it takes time. It can't be done overnight. And anyone out there who promises that they can fix your credit quickly and bump your score through hacks, they may be able to do that. They may be able to temporarily bump your score to get you through a transaction. And if that's all you wanted, okay, I guess you pay them for that and be fine. But I believe that the true magic is when you transform your credit report and and then that way you can transform your financing, and then you can transform your life. So this is highly recommended. And I'll talk to you guys on the next video. And God bless.